Okay, so here we have a picture of our flower and the parts are labeled again, and then we have a close-up image of the pistil on the right here. Before we discuss the process of pollination, what I'd like to discuss is the difference between two kinds of pollination that a flower can carry out. The first kind of pollination I'd like to talk about is cross-pollination. Now, cross-pollination is simply when a flower is fertilized by another flower. So this means a bee covered in pollen from one flower travels to another flower, and as it's rooting through the flower to find some food, the pollen from the original flower that's on the bee will get brushed off onto the pistil, and then that sperm will fertilize the eggs there. Now we can also have self-pollination, which is exactly what it sounds like. During self-pollination, a flower fertilizes itself. So if the wind is blowing and some of the pollen gets knocked off the anthers, it's possible that they can stick onto their own stigma and fertilize the eggs in the same plant that the sperm was made in. So those are the two types of pollination that we have. Now what basically happens during pollination is if you take a look at the anther here and the pollen grains, the pollens are dispersed or knocked off or transported from the anther to the stigma. And as we said here at the top, the stigma is collecting and holding onto the pollen. Now if we take a look at the right here, the close-up image of the pistil, we'll notice that the pollen on the stigma releases the sperm and then starts to create a pollen tube all the way down into the ovary. Now once the sperm gets into the ovary, it's going to go into the ovules and fertilize the ovules. Once the ovules are fertilized, the ovary will eventually become a fruit, and then the ovules will then turn into seeds. So by definition, any fruit that you eat has to have seeds in it. So an apple is a fruit, an orange is a fruit, a banana is a fruit, a tomato is a fruit, a cucumber is a fruit, and a pepper is a fruit. Now, most of us have grown up being taught that tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers were vegetables. The difference between a fruit and a vegetable is that fruits have seeds, vegetables do not. So tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers do have seeds in them, which makes them a fruit, and they were fertilized from a flower. Now, what a vegetable is an edible part of a plant. So we talked about carrots yesterday. Carrots, remember, are the taproot of that plant. So since we can eat the carrot, it's a vegetable. When you eat celery, you are eating the stem of a plant. So the celery is a vegetable. And then when you eat lettuce, you're eating the leaves of a plant. So that's the main difference between a vegetable and a fruit.